Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
This is Rangru. Hello, hello, hello.
And folks, we are back on Slutsk. Apparently they've taken the time to clear away the bodies, and we are back for round 2. Today, in Division 3, Rang, who do we have?
On left-hand side in the blue, we have IL-2 ready for booty busting, otherwise known as Flix, playing 20th Panzer with a Maverick income. Right-hand side in red, we have Sir Gensei playing 2nd Tank Corps with a balanced income, so real classic Panzer tank cores going at it. Vanilla ST2 stuff, just standard tank, standard fighting, so should be a standard match.
Oh, of course, but if it's got Gensei in there, it's not going to be anything standard, but that's what we're kind of looking for. I mean, I felt cheated to a certain extent that on Tuesday we didn't get the armies of tanks that we deserve to get on this map.
This is the tank map, and both sides are definitely packing Panzer IVs, T-34s, ISUs, and even an IS-2, but on the wrong side, apparently. So I wonder if we'll see some actual heavy action. No, we're not going to see anything down south. Both sides are very limited in that regard. Everything really happening up north and in the center.
But I think that kind of makes sense, though, too. I feel like down south, unless you have a lot of tank presence, you're not going to have a lot of action, at least initially.
Yeah, it's a risky push down south, because one good anti-tank gun at the start of the match can shut you down. But it can be very lucrative if you manage to catch your opponent off guard, like in a Tuesday replay if you want to check that out.
And I definitely encourage that, to be fair. Now, one thing I'm going to go and be really, again, and I realize at this point in my old age, I'm getting all nitpicky here, but why all 3 Panzer IIIs to the north, the recon ones? Wouldn't it be better to spread them out across the line?
That is really interesting, because those are his own, that's literally all of his recon units, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So he's going to be leading recon by force from the rest of this match. But that is definitely interesting. I mean, he could also just use the tank regular version of the Panzer IIIs, but I guess he really wants to make sure he can see the enemy before he shoots him.
And now we have a super early Ju-87, which I appreciate. I'm a little skeptical usually for this, but I appreciate it. I don't know if he's going to make it through. He's pushing a target. This is super close. This is like a Y-wing of Star Wars.
Oh, so close. Oh, he gets the kill, yo. No, not entirely worth it, really, as many more T-34s where that come from. But maybe, yeah, I just don't think it was a raw trade, actually.
I mean, if you go strictly off of points, that technically it is, because the T-34-85 is 10 points more, but like you said, availability is everything here. So,
yeah.
But regardless, we do see some anti-air on the field from both sides now. We have a 25mm being brought on in, with the Dushka. And we have a Flak 43 over here. The Normandy just continues to taunt his now dead opponent, just flying over his crater, which is a little disrespectful, but I'm sure, he doesn't mean anything by it.
We're seeing Flix just pushing very hard up north, finally getting his infantry into position. I mean, Gensei has a decent defensive position here. Maxim is going to have to do a whole lot of shooting. And really, Gensei is going to need some anti-tank firepower up north, because it's only Panzer IIIs, but at close range, those Panzer IIIs are rather nasty.
True, and unfortunately right now the only kind of anti-tank he's got is a Zook and anti-tank grenades, which is not going to serve him too well.
Yeah, so it's really going to be very critical here for Booty Buster to push on through heavily up north and really try to capitalize on the lack of forces here. Because if you capture the northern hill, shut down all the bridges, you pretty much have that flank of the map, and that will be very beneficial, especially if you're playing Maverick.
True. Absolutely true. And there's wonderful sight lines looking at those kind of reinforcement points. And with the recon optics actually of those early P3s, yes, there are superiors there. That's going to be deadly for sure, but will they be able to stand up against all of those MBTs? I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, we're seeing some tanks here from Gensei bringing up 2 T-34s, 76s onto the northern flank, which should definitely help alleviate some of those tanks from, well, I just get some of the crews from their tank. Forcefully, probably, but it's really just about delaying action with Gensei's infantry before the reinforcements can come in.
Exactly. But those tanks, What do you think, another 30 seconds or so?
Yeah, a minute.
Yeah, I mean, so the question is, the P3s, if they can push through to the other part of it, or at least get favorable position, they have just enough veterancy. I would argue they should be able to get, if not the first shot, at least a fairly swift shot.
Yeah, and those AP cells are pretty decent. Even just a regular AP cell should be enough to kill those T-34s at close range. But he's having to wait for the infantry to move on through to clear up the town, or little on a road up ahead, so he's going to keep his panzers back a little bit. And yeah, I mean, so against his infantry, it's nothing really to write home about. But yeah, same thing a little bit for Booty Buster. They're slightly better actually. The Pioneer SVTs, I forgot, are pretty decent.
Yes, they are. You know, Booty Buster, you think that maybe he was a fan of like 90s fitness videos?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Who isn't?
This is true, I suppose, if you like spandex. But the T-34s, they are going to get a little bit more aggressive here. It's not going to go well, because if you look right now, actually, at their initial positions, there's at least one P3 able to see everything, and their entry is not going to be a surprise to anybody.
Yep, and they are split up, so I feel like if IL-2 does this right, he can just kind of engage 2-on-1 and get some advantageous kills here.
True. And here comes the first couple of rounds here coming out. Oh no, they're going for... Oh, turret stuck.
Yeah.
Yikes, this is always the hardest part, like the initial kind of like tank engagements are just terrifying. Crew panic, transmission damaged, and the turret stuck. Yeah, that guy's out of the fight.
Yeah, we've got 2 more T-34s to take place, straight from the factory. Second one turret stuck, and, well, it doesn't really matter anymore considering he's dead.
That is true. I still would like to see the non-recon optics tank get rushed to the front here, because I feel like that is going to be way more useful here, especially 3 Iron Cross veterancy. Like, you got to have those guys in the front line.
Yeah, he needs to really... And same with Half. This is definitely an allocation of forces he needs to be throwing on right now, because this is a very critical time. I mean, Gensei is, you know, charging in T-34 after T-34 tank to try and hold the line. And very soon he's going to have an overwhelming firepower in tanks.
That's true for the moment. I actually want to see... Now that Pack 34... Pack 40 pulled back a little bit. Technically, he should be able to get something going on there, but it's not going to be easy for him. And I dare say one of the recon P3s is quite deceased. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Looking otherwise, like you said, there's an awful lot of T-34s in that area. Not the easiest thing to kind of square. BF-109 coming right back in, looking for Maxim just to the south of all of that firepower. You know, we talk a lot about concentration of force and things like that on these casts. Would you think that even though you're not going to get the kill, would it be better to be using that firepower on all this kind of tank action, at least force some stress, get some people freaked out? Or what?
For Gensei?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like this is a beneficial engagement for Gensei. It's almost at the end of A phase, and Flix hasn't really been able to gain that much territory, which is vital for him playing like a Maverick income against balance. So if Gensei can just keep his northern side bogged down, he'll be good to go. He can throw in like loads and loads of T-34s. Not a lot of T-34s, 76s. He's definitely more heavy on the 85 model, but I feel like for Flix, he really needs to maybe think about pushing somewhere else and try to gain that large swath of territory, because it's becoming very costly now, this northern fight.
Bookkeeping thing, really, overall. And maybe this is just because we haven't seen Hearth survive this long. Did he always have 12,000 rounds of MG ammo? That seems absurd.
I don't think a Panzer IV had 12,000 no, Ray had 12,000 rounds. I mean, the Panzer III has 7,400.
Which still also seems like a lot. Like, it's not really something we tend to kind of focus on, because this isn't like, you know, the Ma Deuce or like the Stewarts, where they just have an obscene amount of firepower from it. But that just seems really quite high.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit high, but I'm not Same time, you can actually surprisingly fit a lot in the tank. Like, there's just over 80 75mm shells in that Panzer IV, which is pretty nuts, because it was a big thing. So you really have to, you know, make space somewhere to hold all that bloody ammunition.
Of course. I mean, that's why you had the PBIs walking behind with the shells on their backs. I mean, that's why they're PBI. No, but I had this vision with Hearth over here, 12,000 rounds of like that kind of like Arnold look, where it's just like bullet chains across his chest.
And if you look at the T-3045, we're just going to be comparing machine gun ammunition counts for the rest of the match, guys. So if you're not interested, tune out.
Strap in.
The T-3045 only has roughly 4,000 rounds of MG ammo. Which that's not a lot.
Yeah.
Considering the other tank.
But he also only he's got half of the actual ammunition load overall, too. So I think to a certain extent, what we're seeing here is the numbers disadvantage that the Germans have, but the firepower concentration.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you have twice as many tanks over here in terms of the Soviets. Well, you have half as much ammo. I think that's really what we're looking at here.
Yeah, and to be fair, those Soviet tanks were not exactly ergonomic.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. Was learning the other day about the fact that a lot of the T-34s are such a horrible thing that they were like, oh yes, we have women drivers because women were the only one who could fit in there.
Mm-hmm.
Not really the kind of gender equality we were looking for, but yay. So again, in the meantime, we are going to see an off-map barrage dropping down to the north. It's just a 152, so unless there's a very, very lucky hit, this really shouldn't do a whole lot besides terrifying the ever-living bejesus out of those guys.
Yeah, and it's been a pretty bloody battle for both sides. Gensei has lost quite a few T-34s up north, but really to his advantage, he can afford to bonk Flix in this just meat grinder up north here. Seeing a J87, oh, he's going to use it against T-3476s. That is not...
He's not going to get the target. He's not going to get the target. It's not going to matter.
Yeah, and there's a lot of anti on the field. Will it be enough to shoot it down?
Shockingly enough, I don't think it will. Which is really, really strange, because the 25 mils, the 37 mils, the Dushkas, there's an awful lot of firepower potentially to put up there.
Yeah. Yeah, very just... This match has definitely fallen victim of tunnel vision here, because really all of the action is happening up north, and we're finally seeing something happen in the middle. We've got Stern Pioneers pushing on through into the forest, and this is something Flix really should have done sooner. Maybe push the center area, try to regain that hill, because there's quite a few flags which he could pretty easily get under his control.
In Stern Pioneers against Sapiris, it's not going to be... Ooh. And that's the end of that push.
Yeah.
Like, it absolutely is. Like, congratulations, you were able to go and maybe take out a Panzer squad, but that's it.
Yeah. That was a good Panzer Shrek snipe. Yeah, may not be a Panzer IV, but still, a kill is a kill.
It absolutely is. Now, actually, you know, we talked about the anti-air net, and there's a pretty beastly one still up to the north, but it's getting worse and worse all the time, because we're seeing 81 mils. Oof. Take out a Dushka. We already see one of the 25 mils is down. In fact, I think both of them are down. Yeah, these are very, very effective barrages.
Yeah, and also considering it was on radio artillery, it was actually... yeah, pretty damn effective, and he's bringing in a 105mm as well, so he's starting to invest a bit more on the artillery to try and break its northern flank. But Gensei still holding onto that flag in the town. I mean, he's just gonna keep just throwing more and more guys into that meat grinder. But I know Flix has a lot of forces here now, and he has to manage to flank all the way up north, gaining that flag, which is definitely a good play. He might have enough firepower to maybe kick Gensei off that hill now, if he, like, full sends it.
Well, we are going to see those three squads that are underneath that barrage. They're toast. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
152 in that area. That if it doesn't destroy the garrisons, it puts some combat ineffective. It's almost not even funny. And I'm going back and forth about how much the tunnel vision is really helping or hurting in this particular case. You know, we constantly talk. Flick has got to get, you know, really get his booty in motion here. Because when phase C comes, you know, ain't no one going to be ready, of course. Now, at the same time, if you control that northern side, we've said it a couple times already, you control the approach to 1, 2, I would argue 3 flags pretty easily, and that's without even taking the one into town.
Yeah.
So if you can get that and bite and hold, there's potential. If you can't, I mean, that's the end of the game. So.
But this is where it's going to get harder, because there's only like 5 minutes or so left in B phase, so where he still has that large income advantage. And really in these 5 minutes, he needs to be able to start at +2 bleed, so he can start digging in and then preparing for, eventually having to last till 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how the match goes. And as we usually see, once you get to like the 25-minute mark, Maverick starts to take casualties and really lose any momentum which they might have held, unless they traded really well early on.
True. That's very, very true. P3 is going to go down courtesy of the T-34-76 just north of the town. In fact, the Su-85, while potentially very, very good, not getting a whole lot done there, and a couple of very brave squads of guards are drying themselves off as they go up that hillside.
That might be enough, because those anti-tank rifles can knock out the half-track and you'd be able to retake that flag, so definitely a good push here from Gensei. We're seeing a little bit more action down south and in the center here from IL-2, actually getting the IS-2, the Boita Stalin, on the battlefield.
Indeed. And of course, he's only got 4,000 rounds of ammunition between his three machine guns, excuse me. So proving the fact that just because it's under German control doesn't mean they're apparently believing in fair ammo counts.
No. Or maybe that's all the ammo they could scrounge up.
Maybe. We are going to see T-34-85 being brought on in. In fact, I think he's going more or less to the... No, he's just going to stay on the northern road. Okay, I can see that. And honestly, I really quite appreciate that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it's a high command T-34-85, so he definitely wants to be a little bit more cautious of that one, because you want to keep it alive for the, 2 to 3 star veterancy bonuses which he gives.
That's true, but the funny thing is there's an 88 mil there, and folks, as you can recall, as I'm showing you at least on my screen, where you do have a 3,000 meter range. So
it's 2,000 against ground.
Curses, yeah, you're
right.
right.
I know, it's...
Oh, yeah, you're right. So a 2,000 meter range. And, of course, the T-34-85, he's not going to get quite in position just yet. He's going to engage those P4s instead. Yikes, that's rough.
Yeah. We're seeing that one Boita Stalin really get into the thick of it. Gensei bringing in a lot of 85mm armed tanks. But, those Panzer IVs can actually go toe-to-toe quite well with those T-34s, especially for the price compared to the T-34-85s.
Yes, but also at the same time, devastatingly no. Yeah, the grill gets barbecued. Oh wait, the northern flag is taken. The central flags are taken. Jeez, this is a 15-9. When did that happen?
Oh yeah, just a small push in the center here, just gaining that flag is exactly what IL-2 needed. So it's going to be a 12-minute bleed if he manages to hold on to his momentum, which is going to be a bit of a tough ask. But I think it's not barely possible, but it's definitely impossible in the realm of possibilities of this possibility actually occurring.
True. There is potential. It is extremely unlikely, but there is potential. Now, this martyr over here, he will give his life for the cause. I'd be very, very surprised if he makes it through the next couple of minutes here, unless he, continues to tuck tail and run. So, very admirable. Completely understand it, but not great.
Yeah. I'm just seeing, it's really just coming down to his northern meat grinder. IL-2 has almost managed to kick Gensei off of that hill completely here. It's just the Soviet infantry and that 1 or 2 tanks now being brought to hold the line.
I am mildly amused by the fact that this Boita Stalin is fighting, little Stalin's troops. Ooh, a T-34-85 goes down.
As the commander runs.
Yes, it is.
Massive kill.
I'm a little surprised he wasn't maybe a little more aggressive with, let's say, the less important troops.
Yeah, that's something you really don't just want to lose, period. So that's going to be a big blow, because he's going to lose a lot of potential veterancy for his troops, and as we know, stars make bars, I was trying to think of something witty, but you get what you're given, folks.
That's true. That's true. And if you're not given a whole lot, you might be French.
All an Axis minor nation in 1943.
You know, I realize I probably was a lot better. So you know what? Again, like you said, not a whole lot going on there. But Flak Idiot is going to go and engage in Normandy. And ooh, there's a Verframen I see. He's not quite ready just yet to start firing on anything. But he's there. He's there. And I'm actually quite excited to see what goes on with that.
There we go. We're finally into sea phase. So Gensei now has the double income advantage. We'll see if he'll be able to pull it back. It's only a +1 bleed, so if Gensei, even if he just keeps it at a +1 bleed for 10 minutes, I'd say he pretty much wins the game, because then you just be able to bring up that much of a force multiplier. But Flix does have a lot on the field, and a lot of pretty good equipment on the field. So if he can make his equipment last, and not lose all of his tanks and fire support guns, he'll be in a good position.
True. And I kind of am interested to see if this Verframen, if he's going to target that. Yeah, he really should just target that crossroads, shouldn't he? Just where that SG-43 is right there.
Yeah.
Really, anywhere in that area would be perfectly fine. He's got enough troops, I think, to make at least a minor push. And I would think that makes a little bit more sense than to try to attack that northern flag. He's got the flag, so who cares?
Yeah, he just needs to clear off I think he just needs to clear off the troops on the hill, and then he can start moving his tanks into the edge of the hill, and then you really just zone out the northern town. You can start moving up the infantry through the town, south of the river, and then it just kind of domino effects. But it's all about just clearing off that hill. And Gensei, he has not even a foothold, it's like a pinky toe hold of troops, but it's enough to keep IL-2 guessing.
For the moment, that's for sure. I would like to see one of these Gepards get diverted to the north. And I've actually seen both of them get diverted to the north. That'll be more than enough to take out those guard TPs. The question is, P-Grand TPs, can they last long enough? My sources say yes, but they're going to take some pretty heavy losses to do it.
Yep. God, imagine being a Panzer Grenadier. Oh boy, finally get a machine gewehr, right? Wait, hold up. No. We got some ration guns over here. The machine gewehr's your gun. You get the DP. Hey, look on the bright side. You kill some Russians, you got free ammunition.
True. That's very true. And you know what? I think that's a great attitude. You need to make sure you have a positive attitude. I mean, like, you know what? We are getting pushed back to the west, but at least we're going back to Germany.
Yeah.
We're going home, boys. We might be bringing some, a couple million angry Russians, Chechens, Moldovans, and Lithuanians with us, but we're going home. Down to the south, in the meantime, also, there is a Ju-87 that came in, forced back the ISU-152, and there's a Yak-9T that very, very optimistically is chasing that guy down.
Yeah.
And realizes, of course, yes, it is.
Getting that one flag. This is exactly what Flix needed to be doing earlier, is just making these small pushes, trying to test the front so he could actually, gain those important flags, because that's giving him the +2 right now. He's not going to hold on to that 7 flag for too long. He's going to lose it right now, but still, he really needs those +2 bleeds.
He needs +2 bleeds, but he also just needs to take at least moderately favorable trades.
Yeah, and just keeping those favorable trades, because he still has a good amount of firepower on the field. He just can't. He has to be aggressive, but he can't be too aggressive where he loses his current frontline troops. Otherwise, he's buggered.
True, but even if he is buggered, he's taking a lot of very expensive equipment. ISU-152 goes down to the south. Last artillery barrage is going to come down to the northern side, and it's going to... Ooh, do they have Hearth and a Crossfire? They did have Hearth and a Cross. They had a little bit of an artillery barrage going on there. Gepard gives his life for the cause. And the other Gepard probably going to engage that T-34 to really very little effect. But hey, if that's what does it for you, I suppose that works out decently well.
Yeah, it's one T-34 doing a whole lot of damage here. But for much longer? Maybe. Maybe.
Yikes. And that P3 apparently thinks it's far more inventive and far more amusing just to engage something else besides the guy killing the hero Panzer. So, I maybe Hearth owed him money. Maybe he wasn't really for hearth and home. I don't know. I don't know. Dad puns aside, we are going to see a bit of a push over here in the central position. 2 P4s backing up Peakrent and a Sturm Pioneer. And all that's left in there is just an Automagica Camparotti between him and about 1,000 meters of just empty countryside.
Yeah, that's a perfect area for him to push, because if he can hold an area, I mean, you slap a Pack 43 or a Pack 40 or a Marder in the heck, even Panzer Force, they're good enough. Mm-hmm. You can pretty much zone out that open field, put some infantry to hold the town, and pretty much have it locked down. True.
Coming the other direction, let's see, we have a Yak 9T coming the other direction. Again, it's been a radically different game than what we were expecting over here to kind of see. I really expected maybe pushes up and down the line, and we got ourselves a lot more grindy than we kind of maybe had hoped to see from all of these tank divisions. But it's been more dynamic even than I kind of expected from the grindy aspect. It's very, very strange. I'm not entirely sure how to feel about it just yet.
Yeah, it seems like Flix is still managing to trade very effectively, like late mid-ray, I'd say a mid-ray through C phase, even though there's no bloody time limit. But he's managed to hold himself off and actually really gain this momentum in C phase, which is just bloody hilarious for a Maverick income. Yeah. Gensei just hasn't been able to really trade it effectively. I think, one of the problems with Second Guard Tank Corps is that T-34-85s are just not that good compared to Shermans or T-34-76s. They're just a little bit too expensive for what you're getting, especially considering a Panzer IV is only 75 points compared to 110 points for the T-34. And yes, that T-34 is pretty good, and the armor does make a difference, but not that much of a difference.
Verframen, underwhelming shot, unfortunately. We are going to see a JU-87 being brought on in. And I can't help but feel that barrage was really just meant more as like a calling card. Northern Flag's going to go back over here to the Soviets. And indeed, yeah, the JU-87, he's not going to make it in. He's just pushed back. But regardless, more flags are being taken elsewhere. Maybe not easily, certainly not without bloodshed, but something has been taken.
Yeah, down south, it's Sturm Pioneers pushing into the town.
Yikes! Actually, wait a second. This is a potential 16-8. He's not going to push to the actual reinforcement point, but he's going to have this for a very, very long time, I would warrant.
Yeah, that's a good defensive position down south of Royal's infantry, and that's going to force Gensei to actually invest quite a bit to clear them out. So that's a good push. He might even get a 1 flag on the road if he pushes up a little bit as well. So really good push, yeah, from Flix.
But of course, as we said, that we are seeing heavier equipment being brought back the other direction. We have an ISU 152 picking off the occasional squad in this northern bulge. The Automagica Camparotti, despite the fact that he's been sitting out here really by himself for a very, very long period of time, he ain't quite dead yet. So bit by bit, there's just this murderous push. Panzer Grenadier, I think, is moving north just to try to pick up that flag. Desperate, I think, to stay out of the range of any kind of machine gun fire. Is it enough? Yes, there we go, 16-8. And Sturm Pioneers just being brought in to just continue to, die under the hands of the T-34-85.
Yeah. But still, I mean, it's looking a little bit more precarious up north here for Flix, but it's almost got that 1 flag all the way up north. But just the gains he's managed to make around the rest of the map is pretty good. He definitely has overextended a little bit, but it's definitely paying off, because being overextended 4 minutes is not that bad if that's all he has to hold on for.
Yeah, and I think to a certain extent, too, there's also the psychological effect, too. Because from, Flick's side of things, it's the question of, where do I put troops? I'm losing on every single front. What do I do? And at that point, it brings you into a bit of indecision.
Mm-hmm.
And in many ways, that actually might be as much of a force multiplier to kind of offset the income. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it too much, but I feel like there's a certain level of fear that kind of comes in when you're looking at the fact that you have to really push everywhere all at the same time. Where the heck do you go first?
Yeah, it's looking this very tough here for Gensei. His infantry, of course. Second Guard doesn't have the best infantry tab for Soviet divisions, but yeah, especially against Trenny. If Trenny does have pretty good infantry, I do take my statement back from the beginning of the cast. It just has not been able to trade out effectively in that regard, and yeah, it's just T-34-85s really do screw you over, which is a shame because it's like it's the T-34. I mean, there's the other T-34, the 76, but the 85 is kind of like the premier model.
Yeah, but I think one of the things too is that with the second tank, you've got to you don't have the same type of infantry availability. Though at the same they're there. Yes, there's an opportunity for them, but let's be fair. A Russian tank corps has only barely enough more infantry than what the Germans do.
Yeah, it's actually very light. Not really many C-phase infantry. You usually think you take a Guardia squadron C-phase, but instead opting more for Superiors. There he goes, moving in some Avtomachikis into the center here, but
it's too little, too late.
A little bit too late, yeah.
Yeah. Which again, I have to tip off my hat to a Maverick, not getting a crazy good A phase, not even really getting a crazy good B phase, and still able to take more territory in C. That does not happen.
Does not compute. He was playing hidden balanced essentially.
Yes. And he's losing vehicles. He's losing a lot of material, but he's losing it at the right time, which is to say, with 30 seconds left to go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's gonna be the GG, right? Yeah.
I mean, again, it's gonna go back and forth. Like he might lose the 18-6 for a couple of seconds to 17-7, but it doesn't really matter too much now, does it?
No. But yeah, just once he pushed the rest, I really wish he'd done that sooner, because he probably would have been in a better position sooner into the match. But yeah.
Hey, I mean, a grind that actually develops into attack in another different place. I don't know if that was intentional, if you realized, hey, I'm focusing too much here, let me look someplace else. I don't know. But really, really well done there.
Yep. I'm
really
curious
well done.
to see how the KD will look here, because there's a lot of casualties being taken towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
And there we go. Good game. IR2 ready for booty busting. Booty busters ready to victory. And
about equal.
Okay, pretty standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a 700-ish difference. Kills.
Nothing to write home about. There's one T-34 that killed the two Gepards and Hearth. On the opposite side, there's Tischler over here, the P3 that was able to pick up 3. There's another P3L that got 4 kills. The boy to Stalin is probably the best Soviet killer is the Soviet equipment.
You got to be the enemy to kill the enemy.
Oh, exactly. But well done to to Schmidl, to Su-85, T-34, T-34-85, and a Dushka.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad at all. But folks, unless my good old friend Rank here has anything to say, I think that's gonna be about it for us today.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say, Khan.
Well, in that case, folks, until next time, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Rangru. Take it easy.